Being a medium is like having one foot in this world and the other in the next. Over the years, I've had encounters that were heartwarming, terrifying, and downright unexplainable. Today, I'm sharing 10 of the most unforgettable moments I've had with the spirit world. Stay with me till the end, because one of these changed my life forever. I was at a coffee shop when a man sat across from me and asked, "Can you hear me?" He looked completely normal until I realized no one else could see him. He seemed anxious, repeatedly looking around as if searching for something. I calmly nodded and asked, "Do you remember how you got here?" His face fell, and confusion clouded his expression. "I was driving then, a bright light, and now I'm here," he murmured. As I spoke to him, I sensed his energy wavering between fear and understanding. I gently told him, "You had an accident. You didn't survive it." His eyes widened, and for a moment, he was silent. Then, as if remembering something, he whispered, "My wife, she's waiting for me at home." I reassured him, explaining that he needed to move on, that his wife would sense his presence but wouldn't be able to see him. "You can visit her, but you have to let go of this place," I said. A tear rolled down his cheek before he stood up, smiled faintly, and suddenly, a warm light surrounded him. "Thank you," he said before fading away. It was one of the most emotional encounters I've ever had. A family reached out to me about strange flickering lights in their home. The electrical disturbances were happening at random, light bulbs bursting, TV turning on by itself, and their Alexa randomly laughing at night. When I arrived, the spirit of an elderly woman stood by the light switch, flipping it like a child playing with a toy. I reached out to her and asked, "Why are you still here?" She turned to me, smiled mischievously, and said, "I just love the sound it makes." She had lived in that house for over 50 years and passed away peacefully in her sleep. Her attachment to her old home remained. I assured her the family loved and respected her space, but they needed peace. She nodded, let out a soft sigh, and faded. The flickering lights stopped that very night. One night, I woke up to find words written on my mirror help her. The handwriting was uneven, almost shaky. I had no idea who her was until I received a call the next day from a distressed client. Her mother had passed suddenly, and she was struggling with the weight of unresolved guilt. When I tuned into the energy, her mother's spirit came through. "Tell her I forgive her. It wasn't her fault," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. I delivered the message, and my client broke down in tears, revealing that she had missed a phone call from her mother the day she passed. She had carried that guilt for years. The writing on the mirror disappeared after that. Her mother had found peace. At a family-owned restaurant, the new owner kept experiencing unusual occurrences, plates shifting on their own, the scent of fresh herbs with no source, and an eerie feeling of being watched. As I sat down for a meal, I sensed a playful energy. When my soup arrived, I saw the steam shift unnaturally, as if someone had taken a sip. The former chef, who had once owned the restaurant, was still sampling the dishes. I spoke aloud. "Chef, your food is still loved, but it's time to rest now." A warm breeze moved through the room, and from that day forward, the disturbances stopped. A couple asked me to investigate their attic. They had heard whispers, seen objects move, and felt a thick, heavy presence in the air. When I entered, I saw a dark figure standing there, its presence sorrowful rather than menacing. It was a young boy who had been locked up there in the 1800s by cruel caretakers. I spoke softly, "You are free now. You don't have to stay." He looked at me, eyes full of pain, before whispering, "Thank you." His shadow dissolved into the light. That night, the attic felt lighter than ever before. I had just finished a séance when I decided to take a shortcut through an old cemetery. The air was heavy, and an unnatural chill crept up my spine. As I walked past the gravestones, I heard soft weeping. I turned to see a woman in an old-fashioned dress kneeling beside a grave. Her sobs were heart-wrenching. "Are you okay?" I asked instinctively. She looked up at me, her eyes hollow and dark. "He never came back," she whispered. Her energy was overwhelmingly sad, filled with longing. She had been waiting for her husband, a soldier, for over a century. "He's not coming back, but you can go find him now," I told her gently. A flicker of realization crossed her face, and she slowly faded into mist. The grave she had been kneeling beside bore the name of a soldier who had died in 1863. The spirit world is all around us, whether we see it or not. Each encounter is a reminder that the veil between our worlds is thin, and sometimes the dead have just as much to say as the living. Have you ever had an experience with a spirit? Let me know in the comments. If you love exploring the mysteries of the spirit world as much as I do, then trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. So, if you're ready to go deeper into the unknown, make sure to hit that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll be the first to know when I share my latest experience from beyond the veil. Because trust me, some spirits don't like to be ignored. Thanks for watching.